Welcome to the Power Up! 2020 will be a year to remember for all of us. One for the history books, and in the gaming world, we have had big changes as well. Sony and Microsoft dropped their new consoles, all major tournaments went virtual, KDA released a bunch of singles with blew people's minds, and Epic Games went to war with Apple. Plus, we'll be recapping this year's highlights and notable new game releases later in the show. First up, I'll be talking to Minnesota RØKKR's MiDNITE, followed by a brother at the cross-section of gaming and hip-hop, Crewham's Malik Forté. I think it's fair to say that Call of Duty has contributed to the exponential growth in esports. And with Call of Duty Cold War finally here, this segment is strictly dedicated to the sharpshooters in the game. It's officially hunting season, time to strap up. Here representing one of Call of Duty League's top contenders, Minnesota RØKKR, please give it up for the one, the only Call of Duty legend, MiDNITE. What's up, Ashley? Thank you so much for joining me.
Awesome to be here.
Tell me a little bit about why do you think Call of Duty became your game of choice? I mean, you're really good at sniping. You could have sniped in any other game. Why Call of Duty?
Call of Duty was truly like my first love in the first-person shooter genre. Growing up, I've been playing video games ever since I was like 4 or 5 years old. You know, Mario, Nintendo, PlayStation 1, 2, all that, run it up. But then, you know, in 2009, I was actually working in retail at the time, and I kept seeing this game come through, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. And a couple of my coworkers were like, "Yo, we're gonna play this later. Like, you should get it." So I was like, "All right, cool." And then I don't know what happened. I got in a game, I spawned in on Overgrown, and the rest was history.
I love watching a lot of your snipe videos. Sometimes you don't even see the things that some of the players are seeing. And I was like, how did she do that? I didn't even see the enemy that was there. But you found yourself completely immersed in an all-male space with Call of Duty. But then you discovered DMAX, and then that was kind of like your first clan. What was something that you could take away from that to what you're doing now?
It really just started as, you know, just a group of girls that would all play together, right? I mean, I'm sure you know, there's just not that many other girl gamers, especially on Call of Duty at that time. This was back in 2010, right? So there was like, whenever you'd find a girl in a COD lobby, you were like, "Oh my gosh, I just found a unicorn." And so we all became buddies. We would have game nights, and that's actually where I started to learn sniping. And it just really gave me that sense of community, that like there are other people out there like you, and that, you know, the internet, the gaming community, COD, all that is all connected, and you can kind of find your tribe within that.
Now, initially you spent the whole month making just sniping videos. How did sniping help you contribute to the popularity of esports in general?
I just became obsessed with it, right? Like I mentioned, I became a fan of, you know, sniping just because the flashiness of it. It seemed difficult to pull off, and I was like, man, I want to do that. Like, I'm tired of being good with the red gun. I want to like challenge myself. And so I would constantly like 1v1 on Modern Warfare 2 Rust these other people in DMAX, and I was starting to get pretty good. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep sniping. I'm gonna snipe for 1 month only. That's the only class I'm going to use. If I'm playing Search, if I'm playing free-for-all, whatever it is, I'm going to only snipe. And I just really dedicated myself to becoming better at that thing. How it kind of ended up relating to, you know, competitive, I did end up getting on Optic Gaming back in 2010. That was a complete ride. You know, I was a part of that team for 9 years, and we were able to kind of, you know, cascade our popularity down to the competitive side of Call of Duty. And at that time, it really wasn't very big at all.
Now we see that Minnesota RØKKRs are gearing up for the 2021 season. Can you tell us about what influence you may have had in putting together their roster and what to expect?
That first roster, the first year RØKKR roster, I actually helped, you know, go through the whole roster mania process, talking to a bunch of the pro players. All of the pro players were free agents at the time, essentially, and it was a wild ride that I think I'll remember for a long time. Now, obviously, so I had fun, you know, putting that together. And now this year, with the change from 5v5 to 4v4 in competitive Call of Duty, and obviously not finishing the way we wanted to last year, we actually have an all-new roster lined up for the 2021 season, and I couldn't be more ecstatic. My job for this roster has been getting great content with them and really making sure that the fans get introduced to these new guys.
Speaking of creating great content, you have a very popular podcast, Hilarious. What are 2 pro tips that you would give to other content creators? They're looking at you, some women that are out there, they're trying to get into Call of Duty. Like, what would you say to them when creating their own content, whether for YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, whatever it would be?
The tip I would give is to just like make sure that you're having fun with it. If you go into it with the expectation of like, I'm gonna like be like Ninja or make a bunch of money real quick. Like that could be a part of your journey, but the core of it needs to be that you really love doing it, and that you're, as we kind of mentioned at the beginning, you're finding those people that you click with and just having a good time with it.
Thank you so much, Ashley, for joining me on the Power Up. You're absolutely amazing. Good luck to the Minnesota RØKKRs in 2021.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate the kind words.
With so much going on as we close out the season, I've invited writer-producer Malik Forté to help me recap this year's highlights and notable new game releases. Malik, thank you so much for being here.
Yo, thank you for having me. It's been quite a year in video games.
Yeah, so let's jump right into it, because I feel like some of the games we're going to be talking about have a lot to do with what's going on to this year, 2020, with COVID. So let's start off first with AOC on Twitch. She was streaming with some notable streamers like Valkyrie, obviously Corp's husband. Why was that a thing?
Yeah, I think it was quite a compelling moment for us, because it's the first time we've seen a politician cross over into the gaming space and do it seamlessly. Mind you, we've seen folks like Bernie and other folks, like even Barack Obama back when he was running, he had ads in Burnout Paradise on Billboard. So there's been other people who've tried to interface with the gaming community, but with AOC, she is actually a gamer. It was so much more organic.
Now let's talk about Fortnite. J Balvin as well as Travis Scott have been artists that have used the Fortnite platform to kind of produce concerts and virtual kind of events, considering that COVID has shut down all sort of spaces like conventions, events. Do you think this is the future? Because we're seeing K-pop stars do that. Is virtual events going to be the next thing, and is Fortnite the best place to do it?
I do think VR spaces are going to be something we see more often for people to congregate, especially with this post-COVID world that we're going to be living in, because we're not quite there yet. We're still in the thick of COVID, but I'm totally cool with it. Is Fortnite the best place for it? I don't know. That's an interesting question, for the simple fact that at the end of the day, I do know Epic's trying to make money. So I think Fortnite is actually one of those games that is kind of transcending being just a game. It's almost just becoming a platform.
Yeah, and I love that, specifically with the creator mode and adding Blood Gulch, which is the new Red versus Blue Series 0 that's come out, and adding that. I think it's definitely going to be something. We're going to see a lot more people go into creator mode and probably do something more with that. But let's talk about next gen consoles. Obviously, PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X dropping in 2020 among everything that's happening.
I mean, I'm glad they were able to get them out. I was thinking to myself that we probably wouldn't even see next-gen consoles this year, given the state of things, and the fact that we were able to get some consoles out to some people. I'm happy about that. A little bummed out that there's folks out there kind of poaching it and, running their scams so they can make a little bit more money. This stuff is always to be expected when game consoles release, but it hurts a little bit more because it's been such a tough year for everybody, and there's going to be a lot of people who miss out on playing these new consoles during the holidays because there's someone else trying to make a profit. But I'm glad they were able to get them out. I'm just waiting for that point to where the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X are just more accessible for everybody. I want everybody to be able to play and the player base to continue to grow.
Now let's talk about games from 2020. Animal Crossing was a huge hit this year. It was actually kind of one of the most played games while people were quarantined at home. Did you play? What do you think about Animal Crossing? Obviously, it was nominated for a couple game awards this year as well. What are your thoughts?
Animal Crossing was like an antidepressant at the beginning of COVID. Let's be real. I needed Animal Crossing this year. I've never played Animal Crossing. I've always known about it. I think that it was just something that was therapeutic in a year that was just so difficult. That game was the stuff for a couple of months.
Another game that was the stuff for a couple months, Among Us. The developers, Innersloth, won an award, Best Mobile Game of the Year. Among Us blew up. Honestly, this game has actually been out for a couple of years. It's been out for a couple, 4 years or so, and it just blew up now. Do you think COVID was a part of that? And what do you hope to see with Among Us? Do you play yourself?
I play from time to time. It's more so a community thing that I do with friends. The pandemic was a part of this game propelling itself to the top, but just the way Twitch is and the way just Twitch culture is, I feel like that was really what propelled it.
Another game that came out this year, Ghost of Tsushima. It won a bunch of awards this year. What are your thoughts on Ghost of Tsushima? Obviously, they came out with the multiplayer mode that came out for it as well. Have you jumped in on that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So Ghost of Tsushima was my personal game of the year. I think that Sucker Punch, what they did, taking the Japanese culture as an American studio and doing it justice, so much so that you have folks over in Japan saying, game developers over in Japan, like applauding it, saying like, I don't think we could have made a game like that, you know? I thought that it was just amazing. And the multiplayer, you know, you mentioned that they never announced it. They never alluded to adding a multiplayer to the game before they released it. They dropped the game, and then a month later, they're just like, hey, here's a multiplayer that's coming out. That was just like it was mind blowing to me.
Last of Us Part 2 also was nominated a couple of awards. Did you get a chance to play? Did you beat it? What were your thoughts on The Last of Us Part 2?
I thought it was a great game. I mean, right up there with the other games we mentioned as a game of the year contender. Of course, wasn't my game of the year, wasn't at the top, but it was up there in the top 3. So
Cyberpunk 2077, have you picked that up yet?
Oh yeah, I picked it up. I've been playing that one for the last few days. Pretty nonstop. That's probably one of the most controversial game releases I've ever seen.
I mean, it was supposed to be released in April. It got pushed back to like about November, October. Do you think that all in all, regardless of the bugs and glitches, it's definitely something that someone should pick up for the holiday season?
That's tough for me to answer because I don't know what the experience is on the base PlayStation and Xbox consoles, but all I've been seeing is bad things and glitches. And you know, this morning, the studio CD Projekt Red actually came out and apologized for releasing the game in that state on Xbox and PlayStation 4. So it's hard for me to tell somebody who owns those consoles, hey, go out and buy this game, you're going to enjoy it, because you may not. This is a great world that they created. And I think Mike Pondsmith, the mastermind behind the Cyberpunk story, I think he deserved better when it came to how they wrote this game out, for sure. So fans, if you own a base PS4 or Xbox One, I would say hold out until they actually fix this.
I agree. I think it's definitely one of those games that got a lot of love, and you can see it in the character creation, you can see it in the story and the plot and everything. But I gotta ask, what was your path? Were you Nomad, Street, or Corp?
I wanted to stay as true to my actual self as I could, so I went with the Street Kid.
Okay.
Because you know, that's where I was raised. What about you?
I went Corp Scum.
Ooh, okay.
I'm a corporate scum.
I didn't expect for you to be that.
I know. Well, you know what? I get to live my best fantasy in this game, so I try my very best. You know, that's what video games are for. Live your best fantasy.
Exactly. It's an escape. It's an escape. I totally get it.
Exactly. Wonderful. Thank you, Malik. Thank you so much for joining me on the Power Up.
Thank you for having me.
And that's it from us for 2020. Thank you so much for lighting up my world this year. I'm looking forward to what's next. I hope you are too. But stay well, keep those masks on, and from all of us at the Power Up, we wish you the very best for 2021.